What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be showing you the massive church facade that we built for this Halloween season. So we decided to build this giant church for Halloween this year. We really needed this to fill out a scene that we had an idea for. I'm super happy how it came out. Just wanted to make a video explaining the build of it, the in and outs of it, showing you guys how we did certain things on it. If you guys aren't subscribed, then you might not know that we have a funeral scene on the right side of our yard haunt this year. We have church music playing out here, like vintage organ church music. We have candles everywhere, a coffin or a casket. Super happy with how it turned out. We thought it was a super unique idea. But I don't want to get too deep on this because I'm going to be doing a full video, doing a deep dive of this whole entire funeral theme. In this video, I want to focus on the church that is in the background of this scene. So when I came up with the idea of having a funeral out here, I wasn't for sure how exactly I wanted to do it. I knew I needed a coffin or a casket. I wanted rows and pews of people. You can see we have zombies. I'll go into more detail when I do the deep dive of the funeral scene. But I knew that the main focus point and vocal point of this scene would be the church facade in the back. So I had to come up and design a church to fill this scene, to really tell the story that we're going for. And this is what we came up with. It is really big, it takes up a lot of space out here. So even from the road, which is probably about 50 feet from the facade, I'll back up here and show you. It is really big. It definitely catches people's attention. It really sells the idea that this is a funeral out here before they even get up close to it and see the other details that are out here. It looks super cool, looks super creepy. So I'll start getting into the build of it now. The church is composed of 6 different frames. I'll walk up here closer. So much like the witch house, if you guys missed that video, make sure you go back and watch it. This church is 12 foot wide and it's about 15 foot tall. So going along the front, we try to keep it to where we didn't have to cut the wood as much. So each of these front panels are 4 foot by 8 foot, and there's 3 of them screwed together, making it 12 foot. There's also a side panel here that is about 2 foot. And we'll walk over here and show you the other side. 2 foot panel on this side as well, going back to the garage there. Then there's a point frame that goes up to about 4 foot, which ends about right here. And then we cut the foam up to make the steeple there. That's about 3 foot. So overall, it's about 15 foot tall and 12 foot wide. But like I just mentioned, each frame is 4 foot by 8 foot. So the first frame ends about right here where this first candle's at. The second frame is for the front door, ends about where the second candle is at over there, and then the third frame goes on from there to extend 4 foot out. So once those frames were screwed together, we screwed together the side frames here, which I mentioned before, are 2 foot. Screw those together on each side. And then the top piece is all one piece. So even though I said it comes to a 4 foot point and then the steeple goes up an extra 3 feet, we had to make that all one piece. It just made it super easy so it could all screw together at once. And the way we had to cut the foam out, it was impossible to make that into 2 pieces. So it just made sense to make this one whole piece. You can kind of see the crease of where the top frame starts. Right about here where that light's at. It's a little uneven, so you can kind of see the crease, but that's where it starts. And the reason why we wanted to give it sides is, like I mentioned in previous videos and other projects, it makes it look more three-dimensional, makes it look more filled out, it makes it look more full, like this is an actual church out here. Instead of just having, you know, just a piece of, like the front being flat across, we give it some sides here and give it some three-dimensionalism. so that when you're walking from the side, you can't see behind the church. You see there, all you do is see the wall on both sides. And on top of that, we've added, you can see the red light poking through the roof there. Before I added that, you can see I've recently added a piece of foam right there as kind of the roof area. But it just blocks that light, because before, when it extended out 2 feet, you can see that light and there's a big gap right there. But cutting that foam there really covers that light and gives the impression that that is a real roof. And I'll walk over here and give you the look at the other side as well. It's the same thing. So we've added a piece of foam, cut it out where it would fit, and right there it is. When I was first designing the church, I originally was going to have the sides come out to 4 foot. Like I said earlier, these are 2 foot. So before I cut them down, the original idea was to have them extend out 2 more feet, about right here. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it didn't make much sense, because having them 2 foot off of the main garage here, it goes right directly up where the roof of the garage is right there. So choosing to do 2 foot sidewalls allowed us to screw the top there to the gutter, giving us more stability so that the wind wouldn't knock this thing over. And also, if it was 4 foot out, I was thinking that it wouldn't look right, because obviously everything's compact because we did 2 foot walls, sidewalls. But if it was 4 foot out, it would leave a bigger gap to where you guys could be able to see that there's clearly not a roof on top. It would be farther away from the garage. But since it's 2 foot, we can put that little piece of foam there to provide a roof that covers that light and makes everything look more compact. We've also cut out a piece of foam to make it look like a vent. I feel like that's a pretty big centerpiece for an old church, is the old vent that is typically on top. So we cut that out in foam, drew lines in it, painted behind it black to make it have some depth, and then screwed it on there. We moved down. I found these super vintage looking, well, they're not super vintage looking, they actually are vintage. These old wooden candle holders. We've added 2 in front of the door. I really like these because they break up the blue lighting out here. Gives it some variation, some breaks in the light. And you can't have an old creepy church without some candles. So we love that touch right there. Looks super cool. Put them on both sides of the door. I'm glad I found 2. But yeah, I love how that looks. For the windows, we cut out a piece of foam into a square at the exact size that we wanted. I think it was maybe 8 or 10 inches. I can't really remember for sure. After we cut the foam out into the square, we placed it, we measured it up from the bottom to where we wanted it at the exact height. We placed it on there, traced it all the way up. We have 4, and then it comes up to the point, and then coming down, 4 big squares. We did that, measured out the height, did the same thing to this side. And then once the lines were drawn and it was traced, we actually used a foam cutter to cut lines in the foam to give the impression that these are real windows. I'm super happy how they came out. I'll back up and get you a view. You can see they look like old church windows, which is perfect for what we were going for. And the door here, this is not a real door obviously, but same thing, we traced it to the height we wanted, added a cool design on top. Then we actually used the wood burn tool for this one. So we cut lines in the foam with it, painted the lines black, and then added a layer of brown into where the actual door portion would be. Painted the handle black to make it look like a real door handle, even though it's not. But yeah, it looks super cool. Looks like an old door on church, which is exactly what we were going for. We traced around the window frames to cut out a piece of foam for the trim for the windows. We decided to paint it brown to switch up the light a little bit. I love how those came out. Looks super cool. And we have some plastic sheeting behind there, almost like a drop cloth material, to provide the glass effect for the windows. Obviously it's not real glass, but we want it to look like real glass as much as possible. So that is what that is. It's stapled to the wood frame behind it, hanging down. Looks like real windows. We have a red light back there. For some reason, the red light in the church windows looks super cool. I love the effect that it gets. Looks really good against the white paint there and the blue floodlights in front. To create the lines in the church, which are these right here, I'll show you. These right here that run along look like creases in the material here. We use the wood burn tool, like we did on the door there. I think they're about 6 inches apart. Then once we did that, we gave it a full base layer of dark brown paint, which is the undercolor, and then we added a layer of white on top. But before we added white on top, we used this material or substance called paint crackle. This was my first time using it. I wasn't for sure how to do it properly, but we did end up getting some cool crackle effects. It looks like paint has been there for a while. It's been cracking and old. So that worked out pretty well. I don't think I really did it correctly, like exactly how you're supposed to do it. But there are some areas that looks old and cracked, which is perfect. Back up, get you a wide view of that. In terms of lighting the church, we use 2 main floodlights, kind of casting a glow in that tombstone up, that is blue, and then another one over there on the left, casting the glow up, that is blue. This white paint catches the light very well, so we didn't need too much lighting out here, but I love the glow and effect that blue floodlight creates on the church. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of the church. We definitely stepped out of our comfort zone with this. I love this idea that we had. I wanted to bring it to life. I'm happy with how it came out. The build was challenging at times, but we got through it. I love doing different builds like this that we've never done. Like I mentioned earlier, this is for a funeral scene idea that we had. So this is why we built a church facade, which is this scene right here. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that, because I'll be doing a full deep dive video on this entire scene, showing you guys the in and outs of it. I'm super excited to film that. It's one of my favorite scenes probably that we've ever built. The church is a big reason for that. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.